I really want to ask you a question. What are you drinking tonight?
Tea.
I'm also drinking tea, so this is no longer the Spodcast Coffee Bar. This is the Spodcast Tea Rooms.
Spodcast tea rooms.
Yeah, and
That,
you're gonna have to throw out the coffee machine sound effects and have two old ladies gossiping viciously in the background.
yeah.
Um,
And I suppose we can have like a teapot being filled and stirred.
we could do that live now if you like.
And what you see, tea room says to me like scones, for that is how you pronounce that word,
It's
and
not.
like
It's
jam
not.
and clotted cream.
I'm not a big scone person, and it's scone. It's not scone.
I mean, I'm not a big scone person, but I quite like scones.
I see. I know. No, I'm not big on either. If I'm honest, I will have them if they're offered to me. What else do you get in tea rooms? There's cream buns. I'd
Withnail and
sooner have a
I.
cream bun or an eclair. I would like I should like a chocolate eclair in this
Leclerc.
podcast tea room.
Yeah. But yes, no, as you said, we're recording this in the evening, and even I am not going to be throwing down the espressos at this point. I mean, I've probably drank somewhere in the region of a litre of coffee today, but that was earlier.
I actually I'm very strange. I only have hot drinks in the evening. I don't like them before 4 o'clock. It's
Yeah,
just it's a quirk, and I don't know
no, I'll
why
have
or
an
how.
evening tea.
But it has to be the evening for me to willingly go and make a hot drink.
I'll be honest, we have stretched this intro out far further than it needed to go now.
That's true. Play the theme.
You're listening to a podcast of spurious morality.
Tea room edition.
Tea room edition. Is there any way, like a podcast of spurious morality? There we go.
Ah, there it go. Yes, perfect.
Yes. You're listening to a podcast of spurious morality and coffee. Theme tune's going to go a lot earlier than that. That was 3 minutes.
Do we know what the longest one is yet?
This
one?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to a podcast of spurious morality. I'm Johnston, and with me in the Spodcast Coffee Bar, Tea Room, General All-Purpose Drink Space, I have Connor. Hello, Connor.
Good evening.
And we've not done one of these for a little while. It's you. If I remember correctly, you kind of got a crowbar and forced your way back in last time, and you're still here.
Was that not two coffee? We've not done another coffee bar since that? I thought we'd done two.
I don't know. I've lost track.
There was dialing alarms going off. I remember that.
I mean, you're the one that's been squatting in the coffee bar, so you tell me.
You can't squat in a coffee bar. They're open to everybody.
Is it a 24-hour coffee bar?
I don't know.
Or is it like
technically yes, it is, because it's available on demand to our listeners from all good podcasting platforms. So yes, it is technically available 24 hours a day. So therefore, it is a 24-hour coffee bar.
It is. There we go. Excellent. Glad we figured that out. So it's been a little while anyway since we did one of these, and in these coffee bar, tea room, etc. episodes, we like to sort of strip away the usual format. We're usually fairly rigidly planned. You know, we usually go into an episode knowing exactly what topics we're going to cover. But in these coffee bar ones, we tend to do little to no planning. So this is us mostly unplanned, which is why you've already had 5 minutes of waffle about tea. Waffle?
Tea.
Do you get waffles in tea rooms?
Um, no, I think that feels a bit too American for a tea room.
That's a diner.
That is a diner or
Um,
or an ice cream parlor.
So there's one thing I'm going to mention then, because this is quite exciting, and I've not mentioned it on Spodcast yet, but Diner is relevant. I have had a Doctor Who story published.
Oh yes,
I have, yeah, and I've literally not mentioned it on my podcast where we talk about Doctor Who all the time. Yes, this is in Party Like It's 1998, which is by Obverse Books, published by Obverse Books. It's a celebration of the Eighth Doctor adventures, and my story, Harmony Pines, opens in an American diner. And I believe it's the first, I don't even believe I'm looking at a copy of it. I know full well it's the first story in the anthology.
I didn't know
And
that. Congratulations.
yes, no, it is. You open it, you get an introduction by, it's by one of the Steves. I'm going to say Cole, I think. And then it's my little story. And then as you go through the rest of the book, you look at it and it's like Gary Russell's in there and Paul Mars is in there and lots of other wonderful writers that we're all very familiar with. And there's my little story that opens in an American diner that's a little bit of a David Lynch tribute. You've read it, haven't you, Connor?
I have. Yes, I have
You
indeed. I
gave me
think
pointers.
I went through it with my red pen, if I remember rightly.
Lots and lots of red all over it.
It was very, very good. I enjoyed it. You had that sort of early era Eighth Doctor voice down really, really well. Um, yes, I thought it was great, and I haven't got a copy of the book yet. I keep meaning to get it ordered, but that's
So
excellent to hear that it opens the collection. That's congratulations.
I am told that physical copies have sold out, but there are still digital available, I believe. I don't know. I honestly have no idea how these things work. Like, it would be lovely if there was a reprint and there was more gone out into the world. But yeah, it's charity anthology, and it's sort of some very, very great Doctor Who writers who I genuinely grew up reading, and little old me's just in there
Do
with the first story.
do you keep having to pinch yourself?
Yeah, because it's quite nice. You know, it's not the first time I've been published, but it's certainly the first time I've had Doctor Who published, and it's
It's not the
rather
first
quite
time I've seen your
exciting.
name in print, though, because I remember very distinctly reading one of Paul Marr's books and seeing you mentioned in the acknowledgements towards the end, and it's in the same breath. It's Johnston and Tom Baker.
Yes, I think it's the Robin Hood one.
I
In
think it
fact,
is.
I'm actually sat here looking at a copy of it. I pulled it off the shelf
And
a couple of days
I've
ago.
never been so jealous in all my life as to see the words "thanks to Johnston and Tom Baker" on the same line.
Yeah, you know, just me and Tom, we're just constant sources of inspiration. Yeah, I'm going to start with that bit now. But no, it was very nice of Paul to ask me to contribute a story to this. Paul has edited it. Paul Mars, along with Stuart Douglas from Obverse, have edited this anthology, and it's for very good cause. And yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be part of. And you know, everybody that has got it, I hope you enjoy my sort of 4,500 words. I think it is.
I would give you an applause.
It's a story I'm proud of.
I would give you some applause, but I don't think that would sound very nice to our listeners.
No, we'll just put in a coffee sound effect or a tea sound effect.
A little mug
Um,
chinking sound effect. Sound effect.
yes. So as I said, this episode is genuinely unplanned, and I did not mean to insert that touching tribute to myself there. But thank you for bearing with me, Connor. You've done exciting Doctor Who things recently. Tell us about those.
I have. I recently got to work at Northern Ireland Comic Con for the weekend, and very very excitingly, there were lots of Doctor Who people at it. So I got to go and meet. 4 Doctor Who's and a couple of companions. I met Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, and Paul McGann. I met them on the Saturday, and then the Sunday I met Janet Fielding and Nicola Bryant, which was terribly, terribly exciting. So yeah, it was an awful lot of fun. I've met all the doctors before. Colin Baker was the first I met, and then Paul McGann, I think, was the second after that, and then I can't remember who I met first out of Sylvester and Peter, but I'd met them all before, but I'd never met them all on the same day. And it was quite nice because I was working because I could see them all from my stall, and I could nip over when I had a quiet moment and they had a quiet moment. I was able just to nip over and hello, could I please have an autograph? So I've got some nice photos to get framed up in my office that have been autographed and to Connor, nice to meet you, Paul McGann, sort of thing. Actually, do you know what was very exciting? Not the most. I'm going to get to the most exciting thing shortly, but Paul McGann had his sonic screwdriver, the actual metal prop, sitting on his table. And he would pick it up every now and then and wave it around, and if he was having a photo with someone, he was holding it. So I was just watching him the whole time, like, oh my god, that's Doctor Who, and he's got his sonic screwdriver. I don't think it's the prop from the TV movie, but I do think it's the one that was on screen in Night of the Doctor. So that is, I have seen Doctor Who and his screen used prop in the sonic screwdriver, which is very, 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 very cool. So it was lovely to meet Nicola Bryant and Janet Fielding. I hadn't met them before. I must admit, I was absolutely terrified when I was going over to meet Janet Fielding, because she scares the living daylights out of me as Tegan. But really, really lovely lady. She was absolutely delightful. And this was the most exciting thing. I mentioned that I was there and what I did for a job, and that we had a stall opposite. And maybe an hour or two later after that, she came over and walked around the stall, and we stood and talked about books and different authors and stuff for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And I'm really, really happy to say she's just an absolute delight. Really lovely lady, and just completely amazed that she came over to the stall and we talked. And do you know what made it so surreal was she was in her costume from The Power of the Doctor. When she came back in the Jodie Whittaker era, she had that coat, and her hair was done the same, so she looked like she did on TV. And it's the most surreal thing I've ever done, was meeting and showing Janet Fielding around my work while she looked like Tegan. So it was really, really lovely, and as I say, it's the single most exciting thing that's ever happened, ever.
Yeah, that does sound rather cool. I've never really made it to any of these events. I did a For the Love of Sci-Fi once in Manchester, and Julian Glover signed my season 17 Blu-ray set and like his name, and then put a little arrow down to Scaroth. But honestly, that's kind of all I've really managed. So I've never encountered a doctor at a Comic-Con or anything like that. So that does sound rather brilliant.
See, because the first time I went to meet any of them, I think it was the first time I met Paul McGann, because he is my favorite Doctor. Like, I love the Big Finish stories so much. I love Night of the Doctor. He is my favorite Doctor. I got absolutely tongue tied when I first met him, and I couldn't get the book out of the, I brought a book that I wanted signed and I couldn't get it out of the bag. And I was so completely flustered that first time. Because I've met them all before now and I feel a bit more at ease, it was just really nice being able to go and walk up and like, oh, hello, how are you doing? Are you having a nice day? Just be a bit more conversational. So I think you would love it. I think you would love a Big Finish day, because they're very relaxed and there's a lot of sitting about in hotel bars talking to familiar faces off the telly. But yeah. They're really good fun days.
I do pride myself in my ability to sit near bars. Like that's something I'm fairly good at, all things considered.
Well, I've been to Big Finish Day a couple of times, and you go. I usually everyone is in the same hotel because it's the closest to the events, venue. Um, so I tend to go over anytime I've been to it. I've gone over on the Friday night, and you're meeting people that you know from Discord and Facebook groups, and there's a mutual friend I think you and I have from a Facebook group. It's the guy who does the timeline. We've talked about before.
Oh
Um,
yes.
and it's the only time I've ever met him in person. He's a really lovely guy. But it's really cool going and meeting people like him. And it's also really cool. Like I've had pizza with uh, Jonathan Carley and Nick Briggs because somebody got a pizza in on the Friday night into the hotel, and everyone's sitting around together. And I've sat and had pizza with the War Doctor and the Daleks. So they're really
For the
lovely
love of
events.
anchovies.
For the love of anchovies, indeed. It was ham and mushroom. I think it wasn't anchovies. It was ham and mushroom.
I was hoping you were going to say ham and pineapple, because for the love of pineapple would have
No, I
worked.
don't think there was pineapple. I think there was a revolt over the pineapple. Because Richard Herndl wasn't there. Yeah. So those are really good crack. And obviously we go and everyone's into the same thing because it's very niche. A Doctor Who convention that is specifically about the radio dramas. Um, I think one of my favorite things was there was a guy dressed as the Master, but it was the Jonathan Pryce Master from Curse of Fatal Death, and he had the Dalek bumps, which I think is my favorite cosplay I've ever seen.
I think you'll find they're etheric beam locators, Connor.
Sure. So yeah, I really love them, and yes, I may or may not go to another Big Finish Day. They are long and expensive weekends, but I just love getting out, and it's nothing beats walking into a room and being like, "Oh my god, that's Doctor Who sitting at that table, and he's got his sonic screwdriver and all that sort of stuff." So I didn't say this because one of the other guests actually at the Northern Ireland one recently was Christopher Lloyd, who is Doc Brown from Back to the Future, and they brought the Doctor Who's up, and they did a photo shoot with the time traveling doctors.
Oh yes, I've seen this picture doing the rounds on
Yeah,
Facebook, Instagram, whatever. It's brilliant,
so that's
absolutely
where
brilliant.
that was taken, and I thought that was very, very, very cool. They had the DeLorean, because the DeLorean was made in Belfast. So they had one there, and it was all done up with the time machine stuff. But they also built, this was incredible. They built the train from Back to the Future to scale in the corner of the room, and that's where he did his photographs. You could have a photo with Christopher Lloyd, and you had the choice of whether he was in the DeLorean or whether he were in the Back to the Future train from Part Three. And that was really incredible going to see that. Built all up. They've done such a good job with it.
That's rather quite brilliant. Yes, I think we need a Spodcast outing sometime to one of these things.
We definitely should.
I,
Like, for the love of sci-fi is in Manchester, isn't it? You said earlier on,
it
and this is
was,
like the Northern Ireland one is the same organizer. It's the same people behind that For the Love of series of events.
yeah.
Do the
Sadly, Love of Sci-Fi's stopped. It's
Oh
finished.
no.
They've completed it. Yes, which is a
I know they
shame,
do.
but
I know they do Liverpool as well, which isn't a million miles away, but maybe that's sacrilege to a fellow from Manchester.
anyway, moving on.
I'm
There's a
sorry.
there's a rumor that sometimes on this podcast we discuss like audiobooks and audio drama and that kind of thing.
Yes,
So should we do that?
let's
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 have one of
let's
those
do that.
conversations.
Let's do that.
Um, I've obviously sticking to my healthy dose of Big Finish. I've been keeping up with new releases. listening to some nice random bits and bobs, and I'm really enjoying. I suspect this episode will go out before any of these episodes, but I have started listening to the Doctor Who main/monthly range in well, not chronological order and release order even. So it started at Sirens of Time, and the idea is to get through all of them. We're doing them sort of series by series, season by season style. So Gareth and I have recorded a few of these already. We're kind of doing 5 monthly main releases per episode, and I'm really enjoying them. Like the early monthly range releases, there's some really good, really innovative stuff in there, and I'm not going to go on about it too much because there's entire podcasts all about it coming very, very soon. There may even be one like the week after this. I do actually have a plan. I do actually have a schedule, and I do know when these episodes are going to go out. I don't make it up, honest. But yes, very soon there will be. Those episodes will start. So that's been actually quite a small part of my listening. And I've been doing quite a lot of audio books recently. So I mentioned last time we Coffee Barred that I was listening to a lot of Ian Rankin, listening to the Rebus books. I think I'd done maybe 2 or 3 last time we did one of these. I think I've done 13 now. I'm more than halfway anyway. And they just seem to get better and better and better. Like I honestly don't think I've encountered a series of books that has sort of sustained my interest so thoroughly for so long. Like I've completed many series of audiobooks, but I'm absolutely hooked on these, and I'm kind of having to force myself to move away from them and do something else, partly because I can't just listen to audiobooks about grumpy alcoholic Scottish detectives all the time, but also there's other things that I have on my to-do list, other things I want to listen to. There is Big Finish, there's lots of other stuff, other series I want to enjoy. So I'm genuinely struggling to sort of pull myself away from Rebus. It's a very sort of captivating, very real world, and it's. I find I'm a bit hit or miss on crime fiction, but this is such a hit. This is some of the best I've ever read. There's a reason that Ian Rankin has been sort of universally beloved for 30 odd years. So I will be continuing with those. I've every intention of finishing the series. I'm, like I say, consciously slowing myself down because I want it to last a bit longer. I don't want to just have these 25 books finished in the space of 6 months or whatever. So I'm trying to drag it out as best I can. And one of the things I've been listening to drag it out, I've made a start on the Rivers of London books. So Ben Aronovich, Doctor Who fans will know Ben Aronovich. He obviously wrote 2 very, very good Sylvester McCoy stories, Remembers the Daleks and Battlefield. Rivers of London is absolutely the bloke that wrote Remembrance of the Daleks. Like, it's all there, like the voice is there and the knowledge of London, it's really, really good. It's definitely the guy who wrote Remembrance of the Daleks, but it's also completely and totally its own thing, completely and totally separate from anything Doctor Who-ish at all. It's definitely got otherworldly elements to it. It's kind of CSI with magic. That's kind of how the back of the book describes it. It's basically CSI with magic, and that's a pretty damn good description. The first 2 books have actually, it's the first 2 that I've done, so I've got many more to go. But I found that they were actually quite different, sort of, similar format, similar procedure, but the actual, what was going on in the story itself was very different. I preferred the second one, Moon over Soho, over the first one, Rivers of London, and I think it's purely because Rivers of London had a lot of work to do establishing the world that these characters inhabit. And, whenever something like magic is introduced, it comes with rules, doesn't it? That's kind of a key point with magic in fiction. So the first one kind of established all the rules. The second one definitely built on, all the lore and that kind of thing, but it was far more able to just sort of tell a story without having to build the world up. But I'm very much into this world now, and the first book, it's not like it does anything it doesn't need to do. It does need to establish its world. So yeah, I'm going to be pushing on with these. I'm definitely enjoying them, and they are far more than just a distraction from Rebus. So yes, that's been my main sort of book related listening. I've got more to talk about, but I'll let you tell us about some of the stuff you've been doing first, Connor.
Well, I've never read any of the Rivers of London stories, but I do know that there is a little bit of a Doctor Who connection with them. So not entirely sure how this works. I think there's the book series, but there's also a comic book series for Rivers of London, and I'm pretty sure the comics aren't adaptations of the books. They're additional stories based in the same universe. And I know Andrew Cartmel is a co-writer on those with Ben Aronovich, so there is a little bit of a Doctor Who connection there behind the scenes. That the two of them were. I always thought they seemed like very close collaborators on Doctor Who. Back in the 80s, and I think it's very cool that they still, obviously still are when it comes to Rivers of London. So yes, Andrew Cartmel has also contributed to Rivers of London, which I think is very, very cool. For me, I went through a little bit of a reading slump caused by a couple of nothing to do with the books I was reading. They were very good. I just don't think they were the right books for me at the time. So I had a little string of didn't finishes, but I've recently managed to get my mojo back with reading. I have read a Stephen King for the first time, which is very exciting because it's something I've meant to do for years. I started with Carrie, which I really, really enjoyed. It's rough. You can tell, obviously, it's not the most refined novel. And even I don't think anyone could say Carrie's the most refined of anything, but imperfect, but really, really enjoyable, very easily read. It has this, it sort of peppers through, so it tells the story. The prose is there, but it sort of peppers it through with these excerpts, like these wee excerpts from later on in the timeline after the end of the book has happened and Carrie has killed the town. Everyone, killed all her classmates and wiped out half the town. There's excerpts from the inquiry into what happened. There's extracts from books and newspaper articles and all that sort of stuff. So those are peppered through the text, sort of hinting towards the end. And I like them. I actually do really like them. But I think they give slightly too much away, that you're getting to the end of the story and you already know a good deal of what's going to happen because you've read these wee tidbits of information beforehand. But I really loved it. You can absolutely see why he's got the reputation for being the writer that he is, because it is just so damn readable. And I really loved it. I've got a couple of the other ones. I actually just bought today a copy of Under the Dome, which is one of his more recent ones, I think. But I've got The Shining, and I've got it's not Pet Sematary, Salem's Lot. I have it sitting aside. I really want to get hold of The Running Man as well. It looks very, very interesting. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I think I'm going to do a wee bit of a Stephen King run now. Hopefully, what I'm reading at the moment is completely different, though. I'm currently doing the Canon Clement mysteries, which is the Reverend Richard Coles. He does a lot of the comedy programs. He has written these. It's basically if he was as a rector solved mysteries. The main character is called Daniel Clement. He's just Richard Coles with a different name. But I really like Richard Coles, so I really like Daniel. They're not the greatest novels ever written. I'm reading them and I'm aware that there's problems because I like Richard Cole so much. This is so in his voice. They're very, very easy reads and I'm really enjoying them. The characters are just so likable. Daniel and his mum, Audrey, and all the different wee characters around the village that it's set in. You can get into them. You can get into the story, and you can really get on with those characters so easily. I've done the first one. I'd read it a few years ago, and I re-listened to the audiobook just over the last couple of weeks there. And I'm doing the second one now. I'm doing it on paper, which is very enjoyable. So I think there's 5 altogether. There's 4 sort of full length novels, and then there's a little shorter one, which is like a Christmas special. And I think I'm just going to power through, stop and read stuff that I have to read for work, but then power through these in the background. They are, they're just really nice, wee chilled out stories. And if you like Richard Coles, you will like these because there is so much of him in them, in the main character and in the narration. So it's nice to listen. He does the audiobooks as well, which is always nice. And you really do get, obviously you really do get his voice coming through. Then it picks up on. He has a particular way of talking, which I hadn't read the book in at all, but hearing his cadence and the way he talks, now I'm reading the second one in print. I can hear his voice in my head reading the words, and I can hear how he would say the words, which is it's really really nice. So I really recommend them. They're not the most sophisticated or technically perfect books in the whole world, but they're just really enjoyable. And as I say, if you like him, you will like these books.
I think there is far too much emphasis placed on books being technical and fancy. And you know what? If they're entertaining you, if they are serving the purpose that a book is primarily meant to serve, then so be it. It's doing the right thing.
Well, I said this to somebody else about the Stephen King ones the other day. Like, it's not a masterpiece. It's not this literary heavyweight. It's not high art. It's just a damn good story told well,
Yeah.
and it is an absolute page turner. I think he's known for, he's known for being, like it's printed at the top of the books, the ultimate storyteller. It's just his style seems to appeal to a lot of people. So I would much rather read something like that. That it's just a damn good story told well than something that's trying to be really arty and sophisticated and highbrow. I'll pick the Stephen Kings and Richard Coles over that sort of thing any day.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. So another thing I've been doing, and this has kind of come out of a little Spodcast project that we started not that long ago. I've basically committed to doing all of the Target audiobooks. And I'd started, I'll just do 1 or 2 here and there, won't it be nice? And I've kind of really got stuck into it, and I'm doing them in order. I'm doing them in Doctor Who story order. So I started with the Daleks. I've mentioned this before on the podcast. I've just finished Dalek Invasion of Earth, and I thought it was great. Like it did a really good job of condensing a fairly padded out, let's be honest, 6-parter to a nice sort of solid, what turned into a 4-hour audiobook. And William Russell reading always does and always will help. I'm kind of not looking forward to Ian and Barbara leaving the TARDIS because I'm going to lose a narrator that I really enjoy. But yeah, there's quite a few things I've been kind of dipping my toe in. Another one is an Audible original series called Impact Winter, with an absolutely fantastic cast. Like Holiday Granger's the main character, Liam Cunningham's in there. There's a fair few other people as well. That's absolutely worth looking up. I've done the first series. I really enjoyed it, and I'm deliberately giving myself a bit of a gap before the second, and there's a third as well, and I believe there's a fourth due out, probably not too far off now. It's expected this year, and there's only a few months of this year left. So that's something to sort of look forward to as well. And I've got a few interesting things lined up. I'm planning to go to Whitby Literature Festival in, I think it's early November, and I noticed one of the sort of things you can book to go and see is Steph McGovern of television fame, and she's written a novel, and I hadn't realised this. I hadn't realised this at all until I saw it on the lineup for this literature festival. But it's called Deadline, and it's sort of set. It's kind of a thriller, from what I can gather. I've not done it yet, but it's sort of a thriller set like on a TV set or whatever, or on. So, well, the tagline is "They have your child, you're live on air." So obviously, it's somehow media related, and obviously Steph McGovern has worked in television for quite a long time, so it'll be sort of interesting to see a novel written from that perspective. So I'm quite excited about getting to that one. That's on my let's do very soon list. And of course, because I'm going to Whitby, I'm going to have to listen to the new audiobook of Paul Mars doing Doctor Who and Dracula. So they're sort of on the coming soon list. But my coming soon list seems to be getting bigger and bigger. I've mentioned on this podcast before that I listened to and indeed read the comics of Star Wars The High Republic. I've done phases 1 and 2. Phase 3 has now finished, which kind of brings the whole thing to an end. And I'm kind of putting it off because I don't want the whole thing to end. But I'm well aware that I'm going to have to kind of pick that up and see out the story. They tried to bring the High Republic to TV or Disney Plus at least, and that was The Acolyte, which hasn't been picked up for a second series, which is a real shame because I thought it was actually rather very good. But lots of noisy, shall we say, misguided voices on the internet seemed to drown out anything else in the ears of Disney. But there we go.
I've heard only good things about The Acolyte. I haven't heard anyone who's actually watched it have anything other than praise for it.
It's like one of those things where I've never met anybody that didn't like it, where I've read a lot of comments online from people who didn't like it. And a lot of these have come on a certain platform online where people do just go to complain and troll about it. It's Reddit. I'm talking about Reddit. And yeah, but the lesson I've learned here is avoid Star Wars Reddit.
I avoid Reddit as a general rule.
I tend to use it for gaming related stuff. Like if I'm looking to get into a game, or there's a game I want to try out, I do actually find Reddit's a good sort of testing ground for that kind of thing.
Sticking with the Star Wars thing, I'm watching Andor. I can't remember if I've watched Andor here before, or I can't remember if I've talked about watching Andor on this before or not. It's like everyone says the same thing. It's really, really good.
It's stupidly good.
It's stupidly good. I'm 3 or 4 episodes into the second series now. I'm very behind everybody else, but oh my god, it's fantastic.
And it just gets better and better. Like the second series, just somehow they managed to beat that first series. That first series was very, very good. It was some of the best Star Wars we've ever seen. And the second series is even better.
I love how much like a classic science fiction show it feels. Like there's more than a little bit of Doctor Who and Blake 7 DNA in it, I think. I think it's very Blake 7 actually. But it's the whole 3-part serial format as well that it feels like such a throwback to. Well, Blake 7 started off much the same way. Like the first 3 episodes are basically one 3-part story, and I think Andor follows a very similar format. I know they reused a lot of filming locations as well because they had to film in Britain in the middle of the pandemic, and a lot of a lot of quarries were used.
Yes.
But it just feels so sharp and apt. I think maybe like it's very. Star Wars has always done anti-fascism. Like it's at the very core of what Star Wars does. But this is out and out anti-fascism. Wearing that, wearing it on its sleeve, sort of thing, and it's very timely, I think, and it's aware of that, and it's like I heard the one note. I know we're not allowed to swear on this podcast, but there's a lot. Apparently, the one note that Disney gave the creators of Andor was there's Fiona Shaw's in series 1, and during her spoilers, spoilers follow for the finale of Andor series, season 1 here for anyone who hasn't seen it, but it's the bit at her funeral where her pre-recorded hologram comes up and she says, "Fight the Empire." And apparently in the original version, she wasn't meant to say "fight the Empire." She was meant to say a different word starting with F. And it's that moment feels off when you actually do watch it, because you can tell it's been slightly watered down. I genuinely think it was a mistake to change it. I really wish they had kept the original version, because that would have just been. I think that sums up the show's whole approach. That it's not just open and shut Star Wars that we're used to. It does have extra teeth, and it is a little bit more political than usual, and it is a bit more call to action-y, maybe. But it's so flipping good. I'm having such a good time, and I've been recommending it to everybody. So if you're like me and you're behind the times and you still haven't seen Andor, go and watch Andor. It's really, really good.
I think that if you've not done a Star Wars series on Disney Plus yet, if you like Star Wars or vaguely know about Star Wars even, Andor's the one to go for.
It
There's a
really is.
lot of Star Wars content on there now, and a lot of it's very, very good. Like, nothing will
I
stop
don't.
me from loving The Mandalorian and all of that, but
I
Andor's special.
I think it stands on its own. I think even if you don't like Star Wars, I think there's a high chance that you will like Andor. I think it's the one piece of Star Wars media I can think of that can be divorced entirely from its franchise and still work as a story. And even if you don't like Star Wars, or if you know someone who doesn't like Star Wars, I still think you should watch Andor, because it's that good.
Yes, just go and watch Andor. Even if you don't know what Star Wars is, go and watch Andor, because it's a very, very exceptional achievement, I would say, to just make a series that good that's based on a 50-year-old franchise. That's it's really good. So we're starting to run out of time. We're reaching that stage where the coffee machine has run out of steam, and the clotted cream on the scones is starting to go a bit sour. Your tea's gone cold, and we're out of proper hot chocolate. Like, we've only got instant. So before we sort of disappear down to, I don't know, do we have posh tea and coffee in this bar? Like, are we going to M&S to resupply, or I
See, I
don't know.
thought I thought you were going to go in a different direction, where we're going to take ourselves off to the Spodcast B&B after this.
The Spodcast
um,
pub.
I don't know. I'm actually not that much of a snob when it comes to tea. I will take whatever tea comes. If I'm being honest with you, I don't. Whether it comes from M&S or the Co-op or Tesco or wherever, I don't
There's
particularly mind, as long as it's got a lot of milk in it.
there's a certain other spodcaster that I sincerely hope is not listening to this, but Yorkshire tea can't be beaten. Love it.
Mine is Thompson's tea. which I think might be a Northern Irish brand. I'm not sure. I'm truthfully not
I've
sure.
honestly never heard of it. I think basically what we need to do is just conclude that the Spodcast Coffee Bar is we've got a lot of different kinds of tea and coffee and fizzy drinks and hot chocolate and all of that kind of thing and scones and scones. And yeah, I think that's what we need to conclude. I also noticed that surely this coffee bar is in danger of going out of business because we're the only people that are ever here.
Did we cut the wee bit earlier on about the two ladies, gossiping in the corner? Maybe,
Oh no,
maybe
the
not.
two ladies are here, aren't they? Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. They're giving us no, don't be the two ladies. That sounds like a Doctor Who story title waiting to happen, doesn't it? Like the two ladies. I suppose we were robbed of the two Ranis. Should have been the reality war. Should have been the two Ranis. But it's been really good, sort of catching up about what we've been listening to and reading and watching and all that kind of thing, as well as our slightly exciting Doctor Who experiences. So, yeah, it's been another successful visit to the coffee bar. So yeah, we'll come back and do more coffee bar again soon, and obviously we will do other spodcasting again very soon as well. We've got some good stuff planned. That's how I end coffee bar episodes. I talk about what we have planned. So I mentioned earlier that we are going to be doing the monthly range. We're going to make a start at the start, and we're going to try and do all of it. That's Gareth and I. We're going to carry on with book club, the off target that we started, because that was really fun. And I think the next one we're planning on looking at some classic Doctor Who targets, aren't we? After doing sort of the latest batch last time.
Yes. Yes, my reading has been very chaotic recently, which is why I haven't got into it yet. But I think I have my selection made. I forgot I have those Terrance Dicks, the Essential
Yes.
Terrance Dicks volumes. Um, so I will. I think I know which one I'm going to do for the next one, but I just need to read it. But yes, I'm really looking forward to getting back to that. That was a really fun episode.
Yes, I really enjoyed that, and I think I'm going to do one that I've listened to fairly recently, actually, which was The Reign of Terror, because it was written by Ian Marter, and I love Ian Marter's Target books because they're just so like bloodthirsty. We're going to carry on with the Eighth Doctor. We're going to talk about other things. We've got season by season 20 coming along soon as well. We're going to sort of say goodbye to Nyssa and say hello to Turlo, and so that should be fun. And that's going to include the Five Doctors as well. We're pretending the Five Doctors is just another part of season 20. If it's good enough for the Blu-ray, it's good enough for us. So yes, plenty of spodcasting going forward. When we started this, we planned it to be the shortest, a slightly shorter series of spodcast, and it's actually, I think it's probably going to be considerably longer than our second series was. So we're not going anywhere, which is quite exciting, unless anybody hears the fully unedited recording of this episode.
None of us will ever
None
work
of us
again.
will ever work at all again. No. So yes, right. So that seems like an appropriate point to leave it. So I will say a big, huge thank you for joining me, Connor. It's been a lot of fun as ever, and I'm really glad
Thank you very
you
much.
were able to jump on and share those meeting Doctor and Tegan and Perry experiences. And of course, it was one of the very, very first things we did on here was when you went to Big Finish Day, wasn't it? And we had a
Yes, and we did. I think that was its own little special bonus episode, if I
I
remember.
could be wrong, but I
Well,
think it might have been our
I
first
think
ever bonus episode. We just kind of jumped on
I
and
think it was.
did that.
I actually think it was the second episode we ever released, quite possibly, or the third. It was very early days.
It was very, very early.
Was that 2022?
Yes, I think so. So our very first episode went out a few days after Legend of the Sea Devils.
Which was Easter.
which was Easter 22, wasn't it?
April or May? Is that around then?
Yeah.
How have we been doing this for nearly 4 years?
We've genuinely been doing this for certainly 3.5 years, yeah. And we'll keep doing that.
Oh dear God.
I think that's the plan. We did have 6 months off.
Yes, we did.
But apart from that, we must be, I need to actually check the episode guide. I genuinely do actually keep up to date every week and everything. But we must be edging towards episode 150. We must only be about 10 off now.
Looking at that now, what we've done, because it should tell us. Oh, no, it doesn't. I thought it used to.
We ended our second series on episode 101. So it's however many episodes into series 3 we are, plus the 2 specials we did where we talked about season, series, whatever it was, 1.
Well, then I can tell you now, because we are in your most recent one is season by season part 2, or season by season 19 part 2, episode 39. So we are, if it was 101, we've now done 140. We're 10 episodes away from 150 episodes.
Well, there you go. There's something to aim for. Or should we just stop at 149 and really frustrate people?
It would really frustrate me, so we should not do that. We should do episode 150.
Oh, you see, now you just make me want to kill the podcast.
You wouldn't do that to me. You would.
No, I wouldn't. I'm enjoying it too much. But we will leave this episode there. So yes, we've got a lot to come on Spodcast, including our 150th episode spectacular. And I regret saying that because now I've got to actually plan something for it as opposed to just chuck a season by season out.
What do we do for episode 50? I remember episode 100 was all of us, or as many as we could arrange.
Yeah, we did the 7 Spodcasters, didn't we, for episode 100?
What did we do for episode?
I'm not sure what 50
for
was.
Episode 50, or was it just...
I will tell you any second. It was towards the end of our first series, and it was season by season 6, part 2. So we ended the black and white era of Doctor Who.
Fair dues.
Said goodbye to Patrick Troughton. But yeah, 150 coming up. That's quite exciting. We're probably not going to do anything over the top for it. It'll probably just be a normal episode because it's only 150 in it. But I think it's a nice milestone. I think it's...
Can we get episode 200 to coincide with our 5th anniversary? That's the question.
Potentially. Yeah, as long as I don't ever have a break from podcasting ever again, that should be achievable. However, I'm going to have a break from podcasting now, and for the 5th time I'm trying to end this episode. Thank you very much for joining me,
Thank
Connor.
you very much. Good evening, folks. Good evening.
And we will be back for more podcasting very, very soon. Goodbye now.